to the computer.
Oh, hi. Hi there. My name is Adrian Collington. I'm a health enthusiast, and that means I'm interested in all things involving our health, our mental health, our physical health. I have a health coaching certification, and I got involved with this topic, because of health problems that I had stemmed from my teenage years. And I think let's talking about health is something that's very important in our communities.
And hello, my name is Lori Van Walters Truell. I have been working with students for many years, nursing students, helping them to take better care of themselves and learning this beautiful art and science of health and well-being. I am working, well, I actually am certified as a functional nutrition counselor and still learning a great deal about how our bodies operate and how unique we are, but how similar we are too. So I share your passion of being a health enthusiast, and I'm just so happy to be here today.
Oh, thank you so much, Lori. As everyone well knows, we're living in a time right now where it's a lot of toxicity going on in our water, in our food, in the media. It can be overwhelming, even though we're not going to let it be. And that's why I think if when we talk about health, we can come up with some protocols to not let ourselves get upset. I was listening to another podcast today, and they mentioned that the podcast was about bone health and osteoporosis, and she said that the number one thing that destroys our bones is stress, and the
Mm.
fact that our thoughts can actually dissolve our bones. I
Mm.
just thought that was such an interesting topic.
Wow, that is very interesting. I recently went through experiencing the loss of my children's father and my ex-husband. And after, like a whole whatever period of time it was, I did experience that my entire body felt very sore, very inflamed. And as I'm looking more into the different root causes of inflammation, that's certainly one of them. It's stress. It's like we can become like cortisol is supposed to help us, but we can get to the point where our cortisol is not even helping us because we're way over the top in terms of producing it and the receptors not taking it in. It's kind of similar to diabetes, where we need glucose, but the receptors just won't take it in. And so I would say that's everything is related, and they do stand they do stand apart in terms of all the different things, but as individuals we may have several of those things going on. I really don't think that it's just any one thing, but stress is definitely a trigger. That's something that will change our whole biochemistry to the point that we are creating disease.
Exactly. And, I heard the quote that said, health is ease and
Mm,
sickness is dis-ease.
absolutely.
So if we're not at ease with ourselves, our environment, and the situation that we're in, and we're resisting the situation, that's what stress is, because we're not
Mm.
accepting the situation, which is easier said than done.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at some people's lives, it looks like they have everything going for them. They got the big house, they got the fabulous husband, they got, kids graduating from college and got everything that we think is like success. But the truth of the matter, that person may be the most stressed out, just like totally just out of control in terms of the kind of thoughts. It's like having to maintain that level of living, and what it takes to make that happen might not be so much fun. And so I'm not saying not to achieve those things, but if it's going to cost you your well-being, then is it really worth it?
Absolutely. It reminds me of a stoicism. I look at a lot of topics, and they had the man who owned he was the richest man in the world, Alexander the Great. At the time, he was like similar to like maybe Elon Musk or someone as far as his wealth. And he met Diogenes the dog. So the man who had everything met the man who had nothing.
Hmm.
And the man who had everything was so impressed that this guy was pretty much homeless. We don't know whether he was crazy or whatever, but a lot of people were listening to him. So Diogenes said, if you don't want anything, you're free. No one has power over you if you don't want anything from them. So when Alexander the Great met him, he was so impressed because his workers were talking about him. So he met him. He said, what would you like from me? Because he's the richest man in the world. You can have anything that you want, a palace, a job, money. And Diogenes was, laying on the ground, sunbathing. So he said, I just want you to move out of the way because you're blocking the sunshine. So, and the other thing is, both of them died in their 90s. The man who had everything and the man who had nothing.
Mm.
So it's something about us trying to get stuff and we're holding on. Like they catch the monkeys in the rainforest. They'll get a tree and they'll drill a hole in it and they'll put some fruit and candy in there. And the monkey will stick his hand in there to grab the stuff and he's trying to get it out and his hand is stuck and the poacher's coming, but he won't let go, to get his
Mm.
freedom. And that's how
Mm.
we get trapped. We won't
Mm.
let go of the situation that's actually stressing us out.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah, the choices that we make are very interesting. And even with the whole thing of stress and stress eating, it's like, well, I'm upset, so I'm just going to eat whatever I want. And I have every right to do that. And, just like
Mhm.
eating things that are really not good for you and kind of following up with the negative thoughts as well. And so here we go on the roller coaster of things getting worse and worse and worse. And I do think that our mental well-being has to be a priority because you can know the science of what to eat, what not to eat, what to avoid, living in a bubble like your bubble over there. And have all the conditions all set up. But if this is not good, we're really not on board. We're really not manifesting what's really best for us. For some people who have it all, they are the most arrogant, nasty, just, not the kind of people you want to be around. Whereas there may be people who don't have that, but they have a beautiful spirit that they're always looking to embrace other people and to encourage other people and, the kind of person that you would want to be around. And so somewhere in between, uh,
Yes,
there's a balance. I think that, we should all sleep in beds if we can.
right.
Um,
Exactly.
but, to each his own, we have to
Right.
respect people's choices and hope that they make the best choices for themselves.
Yes, I mean the materialism is part of the United States culture where we're constantly bombarded with the ads like you're not good enough, you're
Hmm.
not pretty enough, you're not young enough, you're not fit enough, you're too thin, you're too fat, you're too this, you're too that. You really it's like they're always programming us so that we'll spend our money buying stuff
Right.
that eventually we wind up drowning in all of these things. And one of my weaknesses is shopping. I mean, just seeing the beautiful things in the store and it's just all set up. It looks so pretty and so
Yeah.
lovely, but
Yeah.
it's a trap.
Yes, it
It's
is.
a trap. So figuring out what it is that helps us as individuals to calm down and be at peace with ourselves. I think about this quote. It's a quote. I'm not sure who said it, but he said, most people's problems is they can't sit alone quietly in a room by themselves. So if we could just sit quietly sometimes, or maybe go to the park and let the sun shine on us and just be quiet and calm, that has a healing effect.
Absolutely. Yeah, scientifically as well as spiritually. I actually did that today. It was really cold in the building, and I said, I really need to just sit out in the sun just to get some vitamin D. And, my arm had been like a little sore. So, pulled up my sleeve and just sat out there and just enjoyed being in the sun. I had my phone with me, but I didn't pull it out. There was no desire whatsoever to get back on the phone because then that causes like anxiety because I'm worried about responding to text messages or, other things coming in, and sometimes we need to unplug. Sometimes we really need to just enjoy nature and and
Yes.
and be part of nature because we are. It's
Ex-
kind of like our mother, our beautiful sun, our beautiful air, the earth,
right.
all of it.
The back in ancient times, uh, they called the sun Ra. They thought sun was actually God because the
Mm.
sun shines on everybody, the good, the bad, the evil, the kind, the cruel. The sun doesn't say, you know what, you're a bad person. I'm not going to shine on you. You
Right.
know, it shines on everybody, but it doesn't shine all the time because sometimes it rains and
Right.
the clouds are in the way. So it's kind of nature and healing. Because I notice I and most people I know feel better when the sun is out. It's like it
Mhm.
gives us energy. If it makes
Mhm.
the plants grow, it's
Right.
affecting us as well. So yes, that was great that you
Yeah.
had a chance to sit outside today.
Yeah.
That was
And
good.
I forgot that I had done that before where I had banged my arm or something that was hurting. And I sat out and I sunned for a few days and it certainly went away. And as I'm like doing this little research on inflammation and the relationship to the immune system, vitamin D3 that's really the anti-inflammatory we should be reaching for because it knows how to fix those things. I guess that part of it has to do with bone and helping it to do what it does. So we think of our bones as just something that's inside of there, but there's like live tissue in there that's always producing good stuff from our immune system. And so it just kind of all made sense that, if it's like usually in the wintertime, people have a tendency to be deficient in vitamin D. But yeah, that's something that we should always remember, even when you're having aches and pains. I mean, aches and pains are because of inflammation. It could be from gluten, it could be from ultra-processed foods. And in that category, there's so many layers, like the seed oils, the heated seed oils, which produce the too much of the omega-6. We need some, but not that much. We need more of the omega 3s. What else about the thing about the processed foods is a lot of the processing is done by other chemicals that we don't even see on the packaging. And they're
I
like
know.
really, really bad things,
I
things that
know.
block your ability to even absorb your vitamins and minerals. So,
Yeah, I know. It's just amazing how we're really, the United States is really owned by corporations and they're doing everything in the interest of the corporation. And when you mention the seed oils, canola oil, I read all of my labels now. When I go buy salad dressing and I see canola oil on there, even in a health food store, I don't buy it. So canola oil used to be a machine manufacturing oil where they would pull the oil out of the earth. And they said,
mm,
hey, instead of throwing this oil out, let's feed it to the humans. Okay, let's give it to them. We could save money. So let's use hexane and all these toxic chemicals, and we'll
mm,
use well because we couldn't swallow it because it tastes so terrible. So they do all these chemical processes to it. And then when we swallow it, our body's so intelligent, it knows this is pretty much toxic
Right.
poison. And they say that these are forever oils. It takes like 2 years for these
Right.
seed oils to come out of your body.
Right. You know what else is forever stuff? There are different types of clothing that you buy. And there's even one that's like kind of high end, that Lululemon. They
Mm.
use chemicals in the clothing that are forever chemicals.
Oh no.
You know,
Oh no, not my
yeah,
Lululemon pants. Oh no, what am I
I
gonna
know.
do?
I'm hoping that maybe there's a way to wash it out.
Oh Lord. It's like
I
every
love
time we
my,
turn
my little
around.
hoodie. Yeah,
Yeah, every time we turn around, we're discovering. So we can't, we're human, we can't do everything. So we just have to pick an area and just say, okay, these are the areas I'm going to focus on because if we chase five rabbits, we're not going to catch
yeah,
any of them,
right,
but
right,
it's really, we have to take, well, not have to, but more responsibility, for what we put into our bodies, because even though we do live in a stressful world, and sometimes we are going to give in to our emotions, but if we do it maybe 10%, 20% of the time, and then 80%,
right,
we're really working on eating clean during the week and just have a little splurge on the weekend instead of it being the other way around.
right, right. Absolutely.
Because it's,
Absolutely. And there was another thing that, and yeah, I think that having all of these Instagram and TikTok and, like all these, I don't know what you call them, but they're like these little information,
shorts.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
where they're talking about different things that are either good for you or bad for you, or come up with, some of them are very good because they give you some home remedies that you can try for different things. But there was one where they talked about the toothpaste and that the fact that there are these different types of fluorides, because
Mm.
fluorine is a halogen and it always hooks up with a nonmetal and then they become a salt. And these are the
Mm.
things that, we know that fluorine is not supposed something that we're supposed to be eating. And so they say because it goes into your mouth, it's getting into like the thyroid and suppressing different hormones. And it's like, oh no, the toothpaste too? It's like, it's like how much
Oh,
can you, and like you said, it's like how many things can you take on at one time other than just being removed from this environment and put into a perfect environment. And then who's going to be there with you?
the
It's going to be
Amish,
lonely.
the Amish, the Pennsylvania, those people, they somehow they had the wisdom that said, you know what? We're gonna do our own thing. We're gonna grow our own food. We're gonna shun a lot of this technology stuff and even the electricity. We're gonna make butter. And they have a very good health and longevity, and they have a closed system. They're not integrated into
Mm,
this system that's poisoning everybody. They're not
right,
integrated into it.
right.
And then the data, like constantly having data from Instagram and Facebook and all of this data and Bluetooth, like
Mm.
Bluetooth poisoning will probably get me because I have these headphones on
Oh,
and got the
you and me
Apple
both.
Watches and the Fitbits and all of this. Then we have
Yeah.
the Wi-Fi on while we're sleeping. They're supposed to turn it off. So it's a lot going on. And then we have the data centers that they're putting in different communities, and they're finding out that these data centers, they'll come into an area and they'll promise them jobs or whatever, but then slowly they pull the jobs back. But they promise the jobs to get the data center there. But once they're there, these data centers are sucking up the water that the community needs. They're starting to have more electrical blackouts. They're having a problem right now in Atlanta with a data center. They're all over the place. And the data center is just to extract our data to sell it to these spammers that are constantly calling us all day trying to sell us something. So you taking my information and selling it to other people so they can sell me more stuff. So all of this data going into our brain. If I keep eating sugar, I'm gonna get sick. some kind of metabolic problem. But I think if we constantly have data going into our eyes and into our brain, that's going to have an impact on us emotionally, psychologically. So we got to shut some of this stuff off, even though we're on it right now.
Right,
We do have to kind of figure out a way to have periods of the day where we don't have data going in.
right. Absolutely, absolutely. I have a terrible habit at night. I like to I like to either listen to some kind of meditation stuff or I like Jay Leno. I like having a good laugh while I'm going to sleep, you know?
Yes.
Um, but again, these are still on my ears. I might catch it like when it goes off, but then I might end up sleeping with that all night, which is terrible.
Right. I know the impact because a couple of months ago when I went to another country to do this fasting retreat, before I went there, I had writer's block, right? So when we went there, they took our phones away. I felt some kind of way about that. I'm thinking that they're gonna say, well, just have your phone in your room. We don't want to see you. They actually took the phone away because they know we're phone addicts, right? So they took the
Mm,
phone away. And after a couple of days, I was writing, no problem. Now that I'm out of that environment and I'm back here with all of the data, back to the writer's block again. I can't write. It's just, I think our brains are just overloaded with data. Our
yeah,
bodies are overloaded with bread and pasta and sugar, and
right,
we're dehydrated and stressed out.
right,
So so we really gotta look at, okay, what area of my health is bothering me? Is it insomnia? Is it my fitness? Is it my stress? And just pick an area and say, okay, what's going to help me heal? Like one guy wrote a book called Eat, Move, Sleep. So if you get your sleep under control, ideally going to bed and waking up at the same time, and then we get some exercise and we tweak our diet, we're going to feel a lot better.
right. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually went to the gym a couple of days this week, and I got mad at the person at the front desk because he mentioned how many days I had not been there.
Oh
And I'm
boy.
thinking about it. I'm like, I'm gonna go over there and give him a piece of my mind. When I finished my workout, I went down there. He wasn't there. I'm like, darn. But it made me realize that there are many reasons why people don't go. It could be because you travel all the time. It could be because you were sick and you're just coming back from a surgery or whatever. Um,
Right, right.
it could be any number of reasons. Fact is, I have a gym at work, so I could go there too, but I just thought that that was something that you're not supposed to say in a non-judgment zone.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
and back to the whole stress thing, it's so the lady was saying when I was listening earlier, she said that when we're stressed, our body is going to get calcium to neutralize the acid from the stress that we're producing from our from our upset emotions, cortisol and adrenaline. So our body goes and gets the calcium to buffer that situation because calcium is a good buffer. But our
Right.
body also grabs the calcium when we eat a lot of carbohydrates. So that calcium is being depleted and used. And then we have the issues with the calcium building up and causing bone spurs. The lady on the article said she had some calcium deposits on her hip and she went to the doctor and he said, oh, I just want to remove those spurs. And he took too much off of her hip and her whole hip collapsed. And then she had to have a total hip replacement.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, just unfortunate things can happen to people because she went
Yeah.
to do something good and wind up being worse off than just having the occasional hip pain.
Right, right.
So
Yeah, calcium is one of those things that we definitely need for our bones. However, when it gets in your arteries, it becomes plaque. If it gets into your bile duct, it becomes crystals. And so we
Mm.
need to be, well, that's actually uric acid crystals. But calcium can be either used in a good way or used in a bad way by the body, depending on the rest of what's going on. So if
Right.
there's a wild party going on in your body, it could end up in places that would cause you to get real sick. Mhm.
Yes, yes.
The other
When
thing I wanted to say about that is the D3. They have one that's paired with K2, and K2 is a good monitor of making sure that calcium goes to the right place and doesn't go to the wrong place.
right.
So if we're
Yes.
doing D3, we should be doing it with the K2.
I wish I had a monitor so that when I wanted to go into the mall and the monitor would say, you don't need to go there. But
Right, right.
there's no such monitor. I got to monitor myself.
Let me
And
tell you something. I believe that AI has one. I
mm,
did one of those Mind Valley conferences, and they did like a workshop on AI. And he had an app that told him it told him where the stores were to get the things that he wanted to shop, but it also mentioned some other things like, oh, don't forget to get the bag for the things that you have because I mean it knew everything about what he needed to do. So I'm sure there's something out there that would evaluate whether something. In fact, there is one. It's called Tuo. Yeah, I think it's TUYO, and you can scan the barcode on anything that you're getting ready to eat, and
hmm,
it will tell you whether it's good, bad, moderate, it
right,
tells you what's in there because that barcode has to list everything that's in that product.
right.
So yeah, so that's something that you can actually do like on each product. But this AI is off the chain. It is really the things that you wouldn't even think it could do, it's doing. And I'm a little concerned.
Yes,
Just a little bit.
yes. I'm concerned about using these robots to, like the robo dogs and the robo cops because you can't fight them because it's not a human being. So if they're using that to monitor crowds, then the machine can shoot bullets in a circumference completely around,
Oh my
and
goodness.
um and so AI can be used for good, and it
Right,
can also be an evil force.
right,
So that and that's the danger about being in a country where
hmm,
anything goes. If you want to
right.
make the robots, make them. If you want to become a monopoly, become a monopoly. There was a time where it seemed like they cared. If a company got too big, they would break it up. Now
Yeah.
it's like, just do whatever you want. I I, I bought a water distiller because I do clean. Our tap water is filthy. Like, so it's amazing how they can use these chemicals to mask all of the dirt. There's actual dirt and fecal matter and medicine and all kinds of lead from the pipes in that water, and they use the chemicals to clear it up and sanitize it. They use a lot of chlorine, and we're drinking it, but it's very, very dirty. So when you use a
Mm,
distiller, the distiller wipes everything out of the water, and it's just pure hydrogen and oxygen. It doesn't have any minerals in it. It's
hmm.
just pure water. So I bought the distiller, and it when I got it, it had a crack in it, and I ordered it to come with a glass bottle instead of a plastic bottle because the water comes out, it's kind of hot. So I got a glass bottle. They didn't ship the bottle, so I called Amazon, and the lady said, you're going to have to call the manufacturer and ask them what happened to the box. I said, but I ordered it from you. What, why do I have to call them? So then uh it's at a certain point, whenever I will call them, they would send me into this email loop where I couldn't talk to anybody. So I finally got some information. I took it back to the store where I picked it up at, and they said I got to take it to another store, Kohl's, because Amazon has Kohl's paying them money so that you take your products back to Kohl's. And so when you ordinarily go on Kohl's, if you have a return, it's right in the front. But the
Right.
Amazon returns, you got to walk through the store and go all the way in the back. And they figure that we're so weak that, oh, there's some more stuff in here that I'm going to shop and buy stuff just because I'm walking to take my item back.
Right.
So I finally took it back. So now I'm in the process of, I'm still going to get another one. So now
Yeah.
I'm in the process of trying to get a warranty.
Hmm.
So when I go on there to order it, they have an option for a warranty, but when I go to buy the warranty, it says it can't be shipped. So when I call to try to find out how to get it, nobody answers the phone because the company is so big and they're so rich, they don't even care about customer service or anything.
Right.
So anyway, I'm going to keep trying to see if I can get that warranty because those things only last for about 7 or 8 months until they start leaking.
No kidding.
Yeah, they don't really last that long.
Wow. That's really interesting because distillation is like a way, it's really like boiling water and only collecting what comes off at 100 degrees.
Yes,
That's your pure water. Everything else is garbage.
exactly. And the bottom of the distiller has all of this dirt
Hmm.
and just caked on stuff, and that's what's clogging us up. It's clogging up our kidneys. It's clogging our bodies up, and even in our homes, the pipes get clogged up. The pipes get clogged up. The sink
Not
gets
to
clogged
mention
up.
all the crud, like the
Yes,
oxidized metals that are in there.
right, exactly. So we have a lot coming at us,
We sure
from
do. We sure
so
do.
we got to pick our lane, and just hydrate, get our sleep, get our exercise, and focus on our diet. Just pick a
Right,
couple of things to just learn and focus on it. And then when you
right,
master those, then you could pick something else because it's a
right, right.
lot. It's a lot going on.
Yeah. For many years, I had an ozonator. Have you ever heard
Mm.
of them?
Yeah, I've heard of that, but I don't really know what it does.
Yeah, ozone is like water. It's like okay. Oxygen is diatomic. In other words, it hangs in pairs. Whereas ozone is triatomic. It's three oxygens together. So it's kind of like a love triangle. One of them gotta go, right? One of them
Okay.
gotta go. And so what you're left with is pure oxygen. So this ozonator, you put water in there and it's like an electrode. And what it's doing is it's taking the water, turning it into ozone, but then it's like that for however long it is. And then eventually one of them goes off and now you've got pure O2. And
Hmm.
this is and you have to do it for like 3 hours for it to actually have the ozonated water. But they've used that in Puerto Rico. They used to have the filthiest water in the world. Now they have the
Hmm.
cleanest water in the world because they use ozonators in their infrastructure.
Wow. That is
So
awesome.
yeah, so that's something my holistic doctor had given me one as a
Hmm.
promotional, for other
Right.
things. But yeah, that was something that I mean, I'm not sure. It was like quite a few years ago. I believed that it was a good thing and it was helping us to be healthier. But how did you get on to the distillation thing?
I was watching the YouTube, a lot of YouTubes about water.
Hmm.
And also I read the book Your Body's Many Cries for Water by Dr.
Hmm.
Batman Gellage, and he said that if we threw all the medication in the world in the water, the world would be better off except for the fishes. And he said that, and then Dick Gregory did a forward for his book, and he said, on my nightstand, I have two books, the Bible and that book. And that this guy was an Iranian doctor. He was a political prisoner, and they
Know
had
who you're talking about. Yes, yes.
and so he was in prison, and one of the prisoners was balled up in pain. His stomach hurt so bad, and somehow they gave him some medication, and he was in such pain. And he didn't have no medicine, so he said he just kept giving him water. He said, "Drink this water." He just kept giving him cup after cup, and
Mhm.
then after maybe 8 or 9 cups, he just the pain just went away. So he
Mhm.
realized it's something to this water. He's written like 5 books on water and pain, water and cancer, water and obesity, water and arthritis. So there's a lot of healing that goes on in our body if we just hydrate and
Mhm.
flush.
Mhm.
Because, if you had a fire in a rainforest, the fire would burn all of the trees down, and then you'd have the dirt and the soot. But the water created the Grand Canyon. It washed away the trees, the dirt, the soot, everything, because water is a solvent. So the
Mhm.
water just washes everything out. So we do need to get that hydration down pat. And most of us are dehydrated because we're eating
Right.
dry stuff like bread is dry,
Right.
pasta is dry, but watermelon is very wet. Cucumbers are
Right.
very wet. So we need to eat more wet and juicy foods and less drying foods.
Mhm.
So it really is. That's a good book.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and when you think about your organs, they're supposed to be moist. They're not supposed to be like leather purses. They're not supposed to be like
Right.
prunes. They're supposed to be like fruit. And so
Exactly.
just having enough
Exactly.
water in your body is cleansing, but it's also plumping us back up. It's plumping up those cells so that the organ can function the way it was intended to,
Yes, when
including
those
the brain.
right, when we had the COVID thing that happened a couple of years ago, the people in the nursing homes, right? They were decimated partially because they're not giving those bedridden people 8 glasses of water, so that they got to keep changing them. So they were dehydrated. So they give them maybe 3 or 4 glasses of water. They're dehydrated. They're on meds. So they were already vulnerable to anything because they weren't flushing. They were
Right,
dehydrated. They were medicated. They were inactive. So
right.
we need to, move around, get the sun, hydrate, heal our minds by just being quiet sometimes and letting our subconscious mind tell us what we need to do, as opposed to me constantly listening to this podcast and that podcast and this book and just constantly drowning my brain in data
Right.
instead of just listening to what my inner voice is trying to tell me what to do.
That's a good point. Because it's almost like we can't even hear it because there's so much other noise going on.
Exactly. And they know how to program us.
Yep.
It's the matrix. You want to be awake, or you want to be asleep, and we pick it. And the other thing about since we mentioned in sleep, another thing that's amazing about sleep is that when we're asleep, our eyes are closed and we're really not conscious. But when you're dreaming, you can see stuff in your dream and you have images. So what are you seeing? Your brain, I guess your brain cleanses while you're sleeping. And I
Mm,
noticed that when I cut back on coffee, when I just stopped drinking coffee, my dreams and my ability to sleep is so much more improved. But when I
mm,
drink coffee, I can't remember my dreams. But when I
right.
stop, I can remember my dreams. Even after, I'm awake, I can remember.
Wow.
So I think the coffee is interfering with some kind of a sleep pattern. I think it's
Hmm.
interfering with it somehow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, because I last night I had it on my mind that there was some event that I had to go to, and I needed to pull something together. I needed to find out where we were going and what time it was and what I needed to bring. There was something I needed to bring that that I, was committed to doing. And I woke up at 6 o'clock and I'm like, am I supposed to go somewhere today? And I really thought that I had like something like high pressure that I had to do, and it wasn't true at all.
Wow, it was a
It was just
dream.
a dream, yeah, or an anxiety. And
Yeah,
anxiety about all the different events and everything, I guess that we had. Like this past month has been particularly challenging with all the different holidays and funerals and just like a lot of things.
right.
And now we just have like a moment, just a quiet moment to think about June is coming. June has a whole lot of stuff, including the new students are coming in. And you know how that is. Like when your summer program is starting,
Wow, it's
you
busy.
have to,
It's hectic and
yeah,
busy.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So, so I came up with a way, and I think that it is important that we're not constantly having to tap into the internet to figure stuff out because I learned how to do like a little AI trick at work, but you know what? I think that what I wrote was pretty good. It can polish it up for you, but I don't want to get dependent on that. I want to still be able to write my own letter, you know?
Exactly.
And I think that
Exactly.
it really does kind of dumb you down when you're not using your brain to create the things that you know how to do. I mean, maybe it'll make it a little better, but I'm just I'm kind of trying to figure out how I feel about that.
It is dumbing us down. We used to remember our own phone numbers. We remember all these different phone numbers.
Right.
Now we can barely remember our own phone number. It
Right.
definitely it's
Right.
definitely making us use our brains less, which is that a is that a good thing to not use your brain and
Right.
just rely on technology? And they're just creating a world that's based on tech. And
Right. Right.
if your phone doesn't work, you're kind of isolated from the world. But
You're in a panic, you know?
we gotta come up with alternatives. Like if something was to happen, or like they have these tanks in different parts of the world that are erupting and causing these problems. So because of these data centers and all the electrical things that we're using, when the electricity shuts down and we can't use our phones, do we have walkie-talkies? Do we have agreements on how we're going to get in touch with friends and family? I don't want to be a prepper, but I do think a little bit of preparedness is
Mhm.
something we need to think about, because with these data centers, we're going to have more blackouts. And we're going
Right.
to have more, shutdowns where the phones don't work, the ATMs
Right.
don't work. You got to have cash. You might, stuff might be shut down for a couple of days. And
Right.
those are the things we need to be thinking about. I mean, distractions are fine, but we need to start to think about those things as well, because if
Right.
we don't, no one's really going to do that for us.
Right. Right. We need to use some old-fashioned wisdom when it comes to survival, because I think if we're completely dependent upon all of this, we will get messed up. Some friends of ours from Montclair, they had a power outage. And they didn't even know why. Monroe County, down in Monroe Township,
Hmm.
they have blackouts like regularly. These are like really wealthy areas. You would think that they're going to make sure they're okay, but it can hit anywhere.
Exactly. And we need to start thinking about, when we get the blackout, what are we going to do? What's our
Right.
plan? Do we have a solar cell phone charger? Do we have any
Mm-hmm.
kind of generators or battery backups?
Hmm.
Or do we have some water? We got to start thinking about those things as well.
Absolutely. And when you were talking about the brain, and different parts of it, like getting lazy or not using it. When you think about when a person has a stroke and there's damage in there are other parts of the brain that know how to learn how to do those functions again. It's almost like, okay, well, you can't do it. I'm going to kick in and we're still going to try to, we're, we're still, you're still going to be able to walk. You're going to have to learn all over again, but this part of the brain is going to take over and going to do it. And so, just, I guess my point is that the brain does, we do have the ability to improve our brain. And I do think that one of the things that we should be able to do is to think on our own and not be so dependent upon all of these things. And in that, it taps into the wisdom of knowing that, a computer is not going to get me water.
Exactly.
Or the flashlights or the walkie-talkies, like you said.
Right.
It's down, it's down. It's not doing anything for me. What can I do for myself to prepare
Bingo.
just in case?
Bingo.
Yeah.
Again, I really appreciate talking about health with you, Lori. And
Oh,
I'm looking forward to us meeting again next week.
absolutely.
You have a good rest
Absolutely.
of the day.
Thank you. You enjoy yourself too. Enjoy
Thank
the
you.
rest of your day. Okay. Bye-bye. Oh, you'll have to close us out.